Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with Hilton Curran, who's the CEO of iFabric Corp, and listed on the TSX under the ticker IFA and on the OTC with the ticker IFABF. Joining Hilton and I are Hilton Price, who's the CFO of iFabric, and Giancarlo Bevis, who's the CEO of the company's Intelligent Fabric division. iFabric is focused on developing a range of products that can improve the safety and well-being of the wearer across a range of marketing segments, including healthcare, sports and athletic wear, military, hospital, and house and home. iFabric recently announced fiscal 2020 year-end numbers, noting a significant increase in revenue from the Intelligent Fabric division and strong recovery in the apparel market despite the challenges from COVID. Management will take us through the financials and provide an operational update, followed by a question and answer period. Note that the presentation may contain some forward-looking statements, which can be viewed on the company's website and presentation. So thanks everyone for being here. Why don't we start with a financial summary and then get into a bit of an operational update.
Okay, I'm Hilton Price. I'm the CFO of iFabric. The results for 2020 have to be taken in context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which had both positive and negative influences on our financials and operations. Fortunately, for the most part, it was positive because I know we put out a press release in May that our PROTX formulation tested positive or was effective in combating the COVID-19 causing virus, and that turned that division immediately into a positive situation, and it's been like that for the balance of the year. Very strong revenue since we made that announcement. So overall, our revenues for the year were up about $1 million, 10%, despite the pandemic. EBITDA was actually positive $29,000 compared to $1.3 million in the previous year. That's a massive turnaround for us. And that is in no small part to the increase in our Intelligent Fabrics division revenues, which went from $4.3 million to $8 million for the year, which is an increase of 84%. With very good margins. The revenue streams there are from apparel and chemicals. Overall, our margins are 35 to 40%. So we're very chuffed with the improvement there. Our intimate apparel division unfortunately suffered due to retail store closings. There we recorded revenue of $3.3 million as opposed to $6 million in the previous year. That was a decrease of around 44%. We did trim expenses and try to compensate to some extent. It wasn't a train smash at the end because stores reopened towards the end of our financial year, and we did see some bounce back. We've always had historically good margins in the 45 to 50% in that division. We did lose money, but for us, it could have been a lot worse. I think we contained the damage to a large extent. The net loss before tax was around $700,000 compared to $1.6 million in the previous year. And out of that loss of $700,000, we had non-cash share-based compensation of around $600,000. We issued some options to directors during that period. They were very expensive given the volatility and sharp increase in our share price. So, but for that charge, we would have been around break even as compared to a $1.6 million loss in the previous year. Again, a massive improvement. And overall, as I said, revenues increased to $11.5 million from $10.4 in the previous year, which was a $1.1 million increase or around 10%. So overall, a very positive year for iFabric.
So maybe we'll just touch on Coconut Grove quickly because we haven't spoken about it too much in previous webinars. But the fourth quarter, there was a bit of a recovery, and the press release noted that you're launching online with Nordstrom this quarter. So can you talk a little bit about that launch and how you're expecting the business to perform in 2021? I know there's a bit of uncertainty still with COVID, but yeah, curious to know if you can give us some color on the outlook there.
Well, we're optimistic that there's going to be recovery. And we, as Hilton said, we've started to see signs. And the fact that now additional retailers like Nordstrom have invited us to start putting product on their website for online sales, which is an intro into brick and mortar. But where online sales used to be a small percent of retail, we know the obviousness. So the fact that they're putting us online is actually more of a positive to us, and it's a nice increase for us. We've done very nicely with the online with Macy's, and should they start opening up brick and mortar again, we expect that to grow. So the online presence is always an intro to having product at brick and mortar, which historically has still always been 70-80% of turnover. And we believe that once the pandemic, slowly abates, there's going to be a return to brick and mortar in some form. So we're rather well positioned. So I think we've seen the worst of coconut. We've got some nice projections going forward with existing customers. So we've also just patented some new products that we've released. So they're really more geared towards spring. So it's really only going to show its impact probably in our financial Q3 and Q4. But we believe that the worst is over and that division is going to return itself to profitability in the not too distant future.
And I think part of the recovery in Coconut Grove had something to do with seasonality as well. Can we talk about seasonality for Coconut Grove and for IFTNA as well? I believe that's strongest.
Yes. So Coconut Grove, and by the very nature of the products, are very much geared towards prom, wedding, summertime fashion, and then Christmas season party, occasion. So there is definitely a seasonality. Spring and fall are the soft seasons. You see your spike around May, June, your spring, summer business, and then your Christmas, the Q4 of the calendar year. So there's definitely seasonality to that business, and we've done that business for over 20 years, so we're pretty familiar with the spike seasons for that business. IFTNA has always had a stronger also performance towards the end of the year, where people buying chemicals and buying product from us have laid in well before the Christmas closing, which is always the end of January, beginning of February. So there is, it's becoming more and more a 12-month of the year business. But historically, as we've been more in the athletic business, we've seen more of the fall, winter sales as the predominance of that turnover. But as we get more and more into the medical sales, we believe that will start evening out into more of a 12-month of the year business.
And obviously, IFTNA is becoming a much bigger part of the business as the company grows. 11.5 million total revenue for the year end, but now you're guiding more than double that for 2021. Are you on track to meet that target? What are the biggest risks to your revenue targets, and is there anything that could conversely accelerate those numbers?
Well, I think that those numbers are definitely put with receiving EPA in mind, and we believe that we're going to get that imminently. We've done everything that they've asked of us. There's really nothing more, and it's now just getting a registration number. And so we believe that it's any day now that we're going to receive that number. And then in the conversations and the dialogue, and actually the new contracts that we're busy working on right now are all taking that into account. So the sooner in the year that does happen, the better the year is going to be. However, we know what we've got on our plate now, and we've got some serious growth just with what the pandemic has done to highlight infection control and the appreciation of what our customers see and what we've been working on for many years. We've got growth coming either way, but the big number is definitely contingent upon EPA approval, registration.
We've also been able to generate some organic growth with the major big box retailers that have been allowed to remain open as an essential service throughout the COVID pandemic, and still allowed to be remaining open during this, and have supplied some product that are COVID-19 related. So that'll help our revenues as we go forward as well. The first quarter looks very strong, and we expect it to continue in that direction and head toward those numbers that we've guided previously.
So on that note, can you give us an update on Under Armour and the big box retailer, other contracts that you're working on right now?
Sure. So I mean, Under Armour sports mask, as we kind of put out in a press release late last year, has gone significantly increased. I mean, they've originally released it in one colorway. I think we're now into 6 or 7 colorways. Late into December, they also released a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson special edition mask, which has done incredibly well. They've increased the product into gaiters and half gaiters, so 2 additional products, and there's some new masks and new new gaiter products on the way early in 2021. So we see that business continuing to grow. There's no drop off at this point. In fact, they've actually gone another step to look at another one of our technologies. So the mask wearing phenomenon has created something that everyone's calling maskne. Creating irritation on the skin from everyone having to wear a mask all the time. So Dream Skin, another one of our technologies, can help fight that. So the new iterations of the masks are being presented to have both not only PROTX2AV, which is the chemistry proven to kill COVID, but as well as Dream Skin, who can help try and combat the ugly maskne that's taken the world by storm. So that one's gone really well. And also they're working on a whole host of apparel and performance products that would also incorporate the PROTX2AV technologies, as well as waiting for EPA. Believe it or not, kill claim is incredibly important to a company like Under Armour. So not only from the antiviral perspective, but from the antibacterial perspective, because staph infections are a big thing in the sports arena, and our product kills staph at an incredibly quick rate. So they've been waiting, since we've been waiting for that exact kill claim, and they will create an entire line that centers around that kill claim as well. And then the big box retailers, as I had mentioned, we did some COVID-related products for them. A reusable gaiter for Walmart. Those have all sold through. We're looking at doing some new replenishment orders on the original quantities we supplied them. We did a mask and a T-shirt package for them as kind of a back to the gym, back to the world train and conquer set that we'll be launching. I believe it's the end of February in Walmart stores nationally. They placed an initial order of about 20,000 units, and before we even delivered, we've already tripled that in replenishment orders. So those should hit stores very soon, and we're very excited about those products, and the retailer is also very excited about them. And we've continued on with our performance apparel with the same big box retailers. I think we started the programs there maybe 3 years ago with 1 or 2 lines, and now we're going to be up to 14, and we've just added 2 more, so now we're at 16 lines. So everything seemed to be on track, and that's where we're generating this organic growth. And while EPA will be in a gigantic boost for us, we also see the already in-house programs and in-house contracts getting us to the number we've put out there.
How are things ramping up in terms of the private label? I think you are anticipating launching shortly on that.
Yeah, so the private label personal protective equipment, we anticipate the site to be ready and launched for February. Product is on its way. We're just trying to finalize and make sure that we don't have any bugs with the website and the store and all the selling features of how we get this product out. So we expect that to be launched by February, and we're expecting some nice sales from it. Everybody's looking for masks, and if you can get a mask that kills COVID-19, why wouldn't you? And then from a margin perspective, obviously selling our own product under our own brand, we would definitely see a much higher rate of return on margin than we would on selling a chemical or selling a finished product to somebody else.
Great. Looking forward to checking out the website.
It's coming. It's coming.
Any progress on the laundry additive? I know you'd mentioned earlier in the year a couple of licensing deals. How are those going, and any further potential contracts in the works?
Yeah, I think that with the laundry additive from the South African perspective, we're still working through the phases of getting that into a bulk production run for them. There's some, I don't want to say challenges, but some fine tuning to be done so that we're not shipping. When you think about a laundry additive, you have the active ingredient, and then you have the rest of it, which essentially it's liquid and water. It's heavy to ship from one place of the world to the other. So we're looking at discussing with them how we can work in conjunction with them to produce it in South Africa for them to bring the cost of the product down. And from a North American perspective, we're also working with one of our biggest customers, Charismatic Brands, to take over their laundry additive business using PROTX2AV with the AV attributes. And I would imagine they have leftover product from a previous supplier that was not working. So we've replaced that. I think they're just trying to get rid of it. And I would expect that as soon as that's finished, the next month or two, they'd be switching completely to us, and we'd be producing it as a finished product to them in a bottle, as well as like a sachet that can be used as a single use product for all kinds of things.
We've talked about Charismatic Brands a little bit in the past, but maybe you can give the audience a little bit more color on their background and what a contract like that would mean for iFabric in terms of dollar value or how that would ramp up.
Sure. So Charismatic Brands was formerly known as Strategic Partners. I would say that they're one of the largest, I believe the largest retail scrub manufacturers in North America. They supply everything from the low-end Scrub Star Walmart scrubs to the high-end Dickies, Cherokee, Revolution Tech, all full of technology scrubs, lab coats. They have a school uniform business, restaurant wear business, and also some corporate identity apparel business. And they believed in us. I think we've been with them going on 4 years, maybe even 5. They believed in us and the kill claim all the way from back then. And they represent, I think there's 700 million turnover company from a scrubs perspective alone, not including all those other categories. They've used PROTX2 from day one. They're moving into our DWR product, which is called Repeltex. They've now come on to sign on with this AV Guard laundry detergent. And we're also developing about 9 different lines with PROTX2AV as a textile treatment for scrubs. I mean, they're a fantastic company to work with. They continue to grow year after year. They've bought 2 new scrub brands to add to their stable of companies, which will just increase revenue, which increases fabric, which is great for us because we sell more chemical. They just finalized those purchases in December. So we'll be moving into those, and we've already had conversations with them about including multiple technologies of ours into their lines.
That's great. And you mentioned the water repellent. Any progress on the repellent with some other customers and some of the other product lines that you guys are working on? Sure.
So the Repellent Eco Plus, which is our C0 fluorine-free water repellent, has tested out fantastically with one of our biggest outdoor customers. They typically run about 100 million yards worth of DWR fabric a year. They've had a challenge in the past with getting a water repellent agent, especially a fluorine-free one, to work on cotton fabrics, which means your everyday hoodie. And if you can put together from our client list which consumer I'm talking about, they sell nearly 85 million hoodies a year. So it's a huge program, and we are the first company to achieve high water repellency rating on cotton with a fluorine-free technology. And we're moving through the commercialization process. We've passed all the tests, and now we're just figuring out where we can plug into what season, into what programs.
Seems like you guys have a lot going on. I'll open it up to open up questions to the audience. There's already been a few questions that have come in. Any new contracts in the medical industry? I know you already mentioned Charismatic, but any other contracts you're working on?
So we obviously don't want to talk about anything we haven't released publicly at this point, but we are working with a few healthcare related companies on a few different scenarios that'll help us grow the business. And obviously with EPA kill claims coming through, we're getting contacted by everyone and their brother to try and get a piece of this. One thing that we probably can talk about is that we're nearing some deals on the personal protective equipment side with our private label product. So not only are we going to be selling it online ourselves, we'll be able to do it through a medical distributor who supplies Canada. And we're getting some good traction in those conversations. And then from the other side of it, I mean, we have a host of things going on. You name it, from luggage to bedding to sports apparel to everything else. As I've said, probably in all of these webinars where we were talking to infection control managers, now we're making hot yoga pants antiviral. technology. So anything you can imagine, people have an appetite to have these different antibacterial, antiviral, or water repelling properties to it, and it's kind of exploded for us over the last 6 months. So we're imminently working on a few more things to come soon.
Has your sales cycle changed much over the last few months, or has it kind of been the same?
It's got to get faster.
Yeah.
Everyone's pushing us to do things tomorrow. If they call us, or yesterday, sorry, if they call us today. So it's we're trying to. If I take Under Armour's mask as an example, typically it would take us 6-8 months to develop a product, and then it's got a plug and play where they can find a room in a season. We developed the Under Armour mask in less than 45 days. So they've sold nearly 20 million of them. So everything's getting faster, everything's speeding up, but we're just taking it one day at a time and doing as much as we can.
And as some of the news has come out on the results of your COVID testing, obviously we've talked about the technology being applicable to other bacteria. We've talked in other meetings about MERS being a huge issue in hospitals. Have your customers that are interested in the COVID angle, have they started to have more discussions with you about other bacteria and other concerns that they're facing on a daily basis?
Yeah, so what's interesting is that most people in the medical fraternity anyways come to us looking for bacteria and not necessarily about a virus, because typically viruses come and go and it's not the biggest concern, and bacterial infections are the number one cost to the healthcare system. So anyone in the medical environment knows that, but there's also a topical nature to the antiviral and the COVID related concerns as well. So I think that anyone medical related understands that it's great that we have a solution for COVID now, but long term, the antibacterial is still here to stay and isn't going to go away. And in fact, now that we can come out and have all this publicity and have all these registrations with kill claims, it'll make life a lot easier for the medical fraternity to sell it into hospitals, because in the past you were limited with what you could say. You could show all the science and everything you wanted to, but you were limited what you could say. But as with us being the first company in the world to be able to achieve a kill claim, it makes these guys' job a lot easier to sell this into a hospital, and gives them a reason to buy scrub A over scrub B.
And on the R&D side, what's the progress on hard surface coatings? Because that's something that would obviously be valuable not only to hospitals, but we've talked about schools, airlines, so many applications.
Yeah, so we've had some. We're really happy with the preliminary test results we've seen, and everything's going according to what we projected it would. And as soon as we have a final study, we'll be making a release about it. But again, I don't want to say anything that hasn't been released as of yet. But everything's trending in the exact direction we thought it would, and we've had some exciting preliminary data.
There's been news out on hard surface coatings from a couple of companies. Some airlines are using a coating. It's a little bit different than what you guys are working on. Maybe you can touch on the competitive landscape for that, not only the hard surface, but a laundry additive and the core PROTX2AV guard.
Sure. So the hard surface disinfectant, there was one company that came out and was doing a pilot project with an airline on very specific limited flights stemming from a particular state in the United States, and they were given an exemption just because of a connection between the airline person and the product. To the best of my knowledge and everything that's been reported, it hasn't gone according to plan. The biggest downfall of that product is it was quaternary ammonium based, which means it was very limited in how it functions. It's great when you want to spray it on a hard surface and wipe it off immediately, but to keep it as a durable coating for multiple days with residual kill, it doesn't work that way, especially when you get additional bacterial and soil loads all over it. So it might be there, but if it's covered up with dried coffee or covered up with everything else, it's not going to, or loads of bacteria, it's not going to continuously kill it. Also, the durability of the coating they used to put it on, I believe, you'll have to forgive me, I think it was only every 7 days they had to replace it, which is a logistical nightmare. They're not going to be able to just do that all the time. And the advantage to what we're doing is we're trying to make it for 6 months, 12 months. They only have to do this and apply this coating every 6 or 12 months, which is a much more attainable goal for airlines or stadiums or schools or anything that you're looking to put this in.
And what about the solution that you're using with Under Armour? Is that, I mean, we've talked about silver as a competitive product.
We've actually had zero pushback in the North American market when it comes to silver. There's a lot of guys out there that are running around with all kinds of claims, but you've never seen one in North America yet. PROTX2AV happens to be in Forbes and selling 20 million masks already in 8 months in North America. So there's a reason for that. There's some European brands that are using it, and the reason that they're using it is because in certain European states you can make claims against killing viruses that you can't make anywhere else in the world. For example, there's a denim company that says they're coming out with a pair of jeans that can kill viruses. First of all, it's an odd place to start, if you ask me. Secondly, the only reason it's coming out is in that particular European state that they're using it in, they can make a claim. It's not coming, that same brand sells in North America, but will not have the claim or the treatment on the garments that come to North America.
Okay. There's a couple more questions from the audience. Can you clarify on the private labels? Is the planned e-commerce for consumer sales, launching consumer brands versus selling to businesses?
With regards to the PPE or the apparel? So, I guess I can just answer either way. So for the PPE, the idea is to go to consumer as well as through medical distributors. So that the medical distributors have the connections with the dentist office, the doctor's office, the hospitals, all those kind of things. They'll be able to get it out faster, drive volume faster than we will be able to internally. But we also want to be able to make it readily available for the general public. So what we'll do is we'll sell ourselves direct, and we'll sell through distributors in other areas. That goes for the PPE as well as the laundry detergent, or the laundry additive, apologies, when we get that going. And then from the the own brand performance apparel and travel line called Under It that we are launching, that's going to be a direct-to-consumer. Maybe in some instances, we'll look to do it as a wholesale into some specialty retailers, but the idea behind it is to be a direct-to-consumer based product.
And do you have any thoughts on what the marketing spend would be in order to launch those products?
I think that in this day and age, you can do it for a lot less than you used to be able to do it with social media platforms and things of that nature. But it'll be a hefty price tag. But I don't think it'll be anything we can't handle. We have a number of firms who have already provided us quotations and strategies on how to go forward with it. We've narrowed it down to 2. And so once we're ready to launch, we'll go with them and have to trust in what they do. They get the vision. They understand what we're trying to do. They've given us a fantastic pathway forward to how to market it and how to launch it. And that's the best we can do.
I assume with the technology, like you're getting a lot of free PR already with Under Armour and some of or just the technology in general. So I think that'll help drive revenues as well.
For sure. And the real reason our idea behind doing the owned brand apparel line is when you're selling it to someone like Under Armour, the North Face, or Lululemon, their biggest marketing the biggest marketing item is Lululemon, Under Armour, or the North Face. It's not necessarily the technology. So what our idea is to market the technology. Obviously, the brand goes along with it, but we want to drive the brand loyalty by providing technologies that either people don't offer or they do offer and don't talk about.
Mm-hmm. And then just in terms of marketing spend, is that on a quarterly basis? Is the bulk of that coming into this quarter? What should people expect in terms of SG&A expenses over the next?
I don't think it would be this quarter. If I would expect that you would see some of it into the following quarter, and then into the last quarter of the year, you'll see some as well.
Okay. Some of these last questions are around the EPA. Have they given you a time commitment on the kill claim? And if you get this kill claim, how do you intend to manage or leverage PR coverage, both on the consumer side and with businesses?
So, they haven't given us a finite date, but what we have done is it's imminent. They've given us the claim they're going to allow. So they've told us via email communication what the claim is going to be that they're allowing. And all we have to do is now wait for the piece of paper in our hand and the registration that's going to come along with that. So I can't give you an exact date because I just don't know one. And I'd be lying if I did. But the minute we have it, we'll obviously release it publicly and we'll go from there. The good news on the medical side of it, we've been preparing for this for years. So the reason CBI, Charismatic Brands, has come to us and believed in our technology and started so many years ago is because as soon as they get that piece of paper in hand, all they got to do is change a sticker. They don't have to produce fabric. They don't have to plan what it's going into. They don't have to do any of that. It's all done. It's in the market. essentially what they're going to do is be able to have all those goods there or with a new sticker on it that'll drive the sales based on that. Because right now you read a hang tag and it says antimicrobial, and now maybe that resonates with a lot of people, but a year and a half ago, maybe it didn't. Now that same scrub's going to be able to say kills 99.9% of MRSA. And that's obviously a huge sales driver for the medical industry. And then from an apparel or a consumer perspective, Under Armour's been doing the same. Part of the reason they took us, they tested us and we beat everyone else, but it was the prospect of getting these kill claims, and they have a whole line or a whole brand ready to go that will have PROTX2 advanced claims to them. Same reason they put it on mask months ago before we could say it kills COVID, right? They were willing to take that gamble, put it on there, and they believed in the science, they believed in the technology, and now it's there. All they got to do is put a sticker on the box.
There's a question from the audience that was asking for a bit of clarification. Is the claim that they're going to allow sufficient to your product and advertising needs? I don't know if you might need some clarification on that.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, the claim they're allowed is certainly, listen, we're the first people in the world to be able to make a kill claim against a specific bacteria. That's pretty good in my books.
Well, and you see, obviously, a number of major brands moving forward without even announcing this kill claim. So I think anything with any type of label would be huge for the company.
For sure. It's what we started this whole business predicate was to make sure that we had a kill claim. And we're not trying to claim that we're the cure for anything. We're another tool in the tool chest of things to combat infections, whether it's viral or bacterial. And if we can prevent one infection, save one life, that's what we started the business to do. And that's what we'll continue to do.
Great. We just have one more question. So why don't we leave it off there? Can you recap the sales numbers for the year-end projected sales, and then maybe give a summary of what investors can look forward to this year in terms of catalysts?
Well, I think we put out 20 million with the understanding that very early in 2021 we were going to, and we didn't do that without really having a very solid understanding of where we are with EPA. And we've felt, we've been very conservative throughout the operation of the company in the past. And I think when people see that we've been able to put these numbers out, it comes with a lot of comfort in terms of what we know as a business of what we are about to experience in 21 and into the future. And I think what people have to understand in looking at us as a company is, we've touched on it earlier today, we're not just antiviral, we are antibacterial. The world has huge HAI, hospital-acquired infection problems prior to their pandemic. They will only get worse with this pandemic. There's been other hospital-acquired infections because of the pandemic. So the whole heightened sensitivity to the business that we have stayed true to for 10 plus years and put our lives into is because we really have methodically and slowly, and we've stood the test against every competitor from Dow Corning on down. We have successfully, wherever we've put our toe, we've come out with an account. And I think that speaks to the team that we have in place to slowly and methodically deliver on our word. And that's why we have the high comfort and respect of our customers, and they really appreciate what we're bringing for the future. So it's not a COVID play. This is a long-term play in the medical field. I think we've even reprofiled our board with more medical acumen on the board, which really speaks to the market of where we see as management where this company is going. So we're so excited. We've got a lot of good things happening, and we've been busy in the background for a long time. We despite not having the final letter from EPA, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of major global brands contacting us almost on a weekly basis, and I think that speaks volumes in terms of what we've achieved.
I think in addition to the claim, the question came earlier, how we see it moving our business. We also have, that we didn't discuss here, that we've discussed before, is the clinical trials in 2 major U.S. hospital systems. I mean, as much as the kill claim is going to be a fantastic sticker, these clinical trials are going to empirically prove what the technology does and how it can help society and hospital healthcare as a whole. And once you get that, I mean, first of all, one of them is the 3rd largest healthcare system in the entire United States. So, I mean, that's an immediate customer for our brand, Charismatic Brands, or our brand partner, Charismatic Brands, which is an automatic customer for us. So I don't think that should ever be forgotten, because empirical evidence of how we can impact bacterial loads and the potential for longer stays in hospitals and complications and things of that nature is a huge catalyst for our business as well. If we could get rid of COVID, we could get into the hospital and get those underway.
Great. Well, thanks for the update. Sounds like the fiscal year is already off to a good, strong start. So excited to be kept up to date and looking forward to seeing what other announcements come out from iFabric. And we'll be watching for the kill claim with fingers crossed.
Awesome. Thank you very much.